games. It's ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames.
How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have a set 4 tier list for today's video. And this is one I haven't done for a while, and I think I did one at the beginning of set 3, but then not the end. So we got set 4 tier list here because with the recent suspension of Triple Dark Raid, DJ, and Django, the format has widely opened up, and even though we had some small events like some showdowns and even some big showdowns, it's been nice to see quite a lot of things doing well and basically a lot of things topping or winning. So with those bans out the way and the format now taking new and with upcoming a lot of PQs and even like store showdowns as well, it's going to be a pretty interesting format because it seems to be a lot more open. There's no like very strong dominating deck like we had Django before, and before that we had Han, and then things before that we had Boba and stuff. So hopefully this is more open and I'll give my views on it. But remember that these are my personal opinions, not fact, so do take them with a grain of salt and let me know if you agree or not. So we got the tiers here. We got tier 1. This would be the tier of things that you would expect to top and win an event, and also the ones that if you are going to a big event, they're going to be the ones that you're going to be building your deck to defeat or at least compete against. Then we got tier 2, and these are the ones that aren't as dominating as tier 1, not as strong as those ones, but they're ones that will still top or even still win events, and they're ones that have a better chance of dealing with the ones in tier 1 outside themselves. Then we've got tier 3, and these are the ones that aren't too strong compared to the tier 1 and tier 2 decks, but they are ones that, given a lot of factors, and even a bit of like player skill, they can potentially come in and top and even win some events given the chance. And then for tier 4, what I've put this for as is like leaders that did well at previous events, but then just disappeared. Not because they got worse or something outclassed them, but just because they just aren't really utilized as well, like by many people, because there are options people prefer, and can still potentially do something because they've already lost nothing and they've only gained things. So we're going to get into that, and also do remember that you can like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated with my channel as and when they, my videos as and when they drop. And also by clicking that notification bell, you can get alerts to my videos do drop, so watch them there and then or later time that suits you. And do remember that we are on our way to 2,000 subs. That is our goal. We hope to hit there by the end of the year, and we're up to, I think we're 175 away, so we're less than 200 away from the goal, and hoping to get there, and all a little bit of help from you guys helps. So out of the way, let's get into it and see the tier list. So for tier 1, these are the decks I feel are the best decks in the format at the moment, and the ones that you expect to top, probably most likely will win events, and also ones you're going to be building your deck around. And they are Sabine Green, so Sabine ECL, the many versions of Han set or set 1 Han. You got Boss Control, you got Anakin with Colossus or Anakin Blue, and then you got Quinlan Tarkintown. Now these are all the strongest versions of their decks, with like Han having the one that's a lot more options, and they each have a different role. So you got Sabine as your primary aggression, so that's your main aggro deck, and your top aggro deck, that's just probably the better of the aggro decks at the moment. Very good. You can play different versions of it, like there's a yellow version that can be aggressive as well, but the main one we'll see is the green version, because ECL allowing you to bring out Wrecker or Poe to kind of pivot and take back control of the game if your opponent tries to make a move to take it back, then basically just capitalizing on that. Then you got Han with many versions, and it did get hit by the loss of DJ, so it can no longer now start taking resources. But that kind of horrible interaction that made it so you have to deal put cards in your deck to deal with that specific action while they still carried on as normal is now gone. So you'd have to now tech against tech or DJ, and they can still play it as a fair, strong deck. So with Han as well, there's all different versions of it. Like you can play it still double yellow if you want, which is still a very good option. You can play it red like people have done. You can play it yellow and also blue, green and blue as well. And probably the strongest one out of these are the green and blue ones, because the green has the ramp to kind of like bring your resources, and with Han's natural ramp as well, bring out bigger things a lot quicker than most decks can. And you got the blue one, allowing you to utilize all the good skills and cards in blue, with a lot of good units as well as good events and things like that. Like yellow and red are probably the weaker ones, but maybe yellow a bit more than red depending on how you feel. Because double yellow is still really good, a lot of good things. The only thing it really lost is DJ, and red is still offering that nice bit of aggression and aggro kind of strategy to it. So Han is a very strong one, and also do note these are not in order; they're just in like release order and in set order as well. That's why like Sabine's first, then Han behind it at set 1, and things like that. And then we've got Bosk as well, being the control deck for the top tier, the tier 1 decks. Makes for a very good control deck with blue. You can even play it green if you wanted to, but I think the blue one is what is mainly used, but the green one is still a good option, even as an option to counter some of these other decks if you want to pivot to that, which would make a very good option. Because you don't get new bounties, but the bounties we do have are still very strong, and the control options are very good in the red-blue for a very good way to kind of deal damage as well as control the board. Then you've got Anakin Colossus or Anakin Blue. I know people are playing Anakin Blue, but really Anakin Colossus is the better choice, but it does require a little bit of know-how and like a little bit of input to experience and testing to put into it to kind of get used to it. But it makes for a very strong deck because 35 health is a lot of health to kind of get through, and even aggro decks can't really, not all the time, deal with that very easily. But then again, as well, you do start with less of hand, so you have less options, so you're kind of susceptible to hand control, but still, you've got a lot of health to compensate, and the more damage you take, the stronger it makes Anakin when he does deploy. So it's a very good one to help deal with things like Bosk, and even deal with Han as well, a lot better. And then we got the one that's probably on the top of people's radar, and that is Quinlan Tarkentown, because Tarkentown's main user in Jagger did get hit, but Quinlan is there to take its place. And while he's not as dominant, he might not be as dominant, at least he lets you play the game and you can interact and actually do stuff rather than having everything in your turn tapped down. But it does make use of it by using his own effect to kind of ping damage to something that you've played, or when you play something, ping damage through Quinlan to kind of damage something, and then take control with Tarkentown finishing off to kind of pivot and take control. You also do get really good options like making use of Force Throw, one of the best cards in the game, and it's just a very strong card. And having a Force leader you can deploy on 5 or more resources, so as early as turn 4, to be able to make use of it for its full effect is very strong. You also do get access to some really good cards in Cunning as well, which is really nice. So those are the tier 1 decks, the ones that are going to be winning events, I feel, and always topping, and as well are the ones you're going to build your deck to deal with. So that is tier 1, and let's have a look at tier 2. So there's a lot more decks in tier 2, but there is a reason for that, because they're not the 100% best, but there is a lot of options in them. There are a lot of options in that tier, because they're ones that still compete, still top, and still win. But the tier 1 decks just do a little bit more, but they can still fight against some of the top tier decks, still at a decent chance. Now we've got a very degree of options. Like you've got a lot of blue ones. Like you've got Krennic and Kira being your more mid-rangey, like soft control kind of ones, where you're utilizing mainly the green aspect alongside themselves to make use of like ECL base or just a very health green base, and just utilizing that good combination of cards in blue and green through the Villainy side. So very strong cards there, with Krennic even powering up your units if they take a little bit damage, giving them extra boost in their stats to, be stronger, and Kira having a built-in way to kind of deal with leaders a little bit easier, which is always cool. And then the other kind of Villainy leader you have in blue is Gar Saxon, making for a more aggro version, because every set has kind of got more boost. Like ever since it got released, it's got more boost in the more shielded units, so they're protected, so they can't be dealt with by the normal like ping damage we've had prior in the last few sets. And because they're a little bit easier, and that shield gives them a boost thanks to Gar Saxon's effect. And combine it with yellow, you get a lot of boost to kind of beat aggro by like attacking with more power, and even playing out some things that could disrupt you, and even then access to hotshot blasters and never upgrade, getting the boost of Gar Saxon and swinging for a little bit more. Then if we go on to the more heroic side, we then got the all the other heroic side are the Force users. So we've got Luke, Rey, Yoda, and Obi-Wan as very good Force units in blue as well, and can play different ways. You get some that played red, like Rey is played with red to make use of, just like how Quinlan does, make use of things like Force Throw and the Force aspects, while also having a very good way to deploy, and give you a good amount of heal by when she's out, she can swing and heal you free from your base every time, so giving a good amount of heal, combining the best bits of each aspect, healing and defense with blue, while also being aggressive and destructive with red. Then you got Luke and Yoda being the blue-green leaders, the more mid-rangey, rampy ones, because they're all about ramping up because they get their late deploys down, get more things on board, and protect them. Luke does that by providing a shield, so protecting your things, and also has a good return play with Alliance Dispatcher. Be able to play that out turn 1, then shield as well because it's a 1-cost play, and then from then on, as long as it stays on the board, play out things ahead of curve, which is cool. So play out 4 costs on turn 2 when you've got free resources and things like that. And the longer it stays out, the more benefits you get. And while Luke's out, he then is able to keep shielding up things and just hitting quite hard as well. And he even has his good old lightsaber to protect himself too. Then you got Obi-Wan as well. Well, actually, I think I'm finished with Yoda. Yeah, Yoda's another good one. This is one that was mainly using the gimmick of Endless Legion. That's the main thing. But now, well, and because it can use it very well, thanks to using Your Only Hope to make use of that, and play it for free when you got 5 or less health on board, well, on your base, and bring out a plethora of stuff in your resources. But that gimmick is not the main focus of the deck anymore, because you've got the green version where you can utilize all the good stuff from blue and green, as well as then having that as a secondary option, an alternative way to kind of win, which is cool. So you can have it teched in as an alternative thing to do. It also has a nice little effect where when it's deployed, it can pop almost anything by setting that up with its own effect. So it has a good, really nice deploy, and comes down with healing, so it's got restore when it swings, and offers you some really good things in those aspects. Then you have Obi-Wan, which can make itself pretty nice to compete in both aggression and command as its main ways, and it offers that in be able to heal. So when you've got things like Quinlan and other Tarkin Town decks that want to just deal damage so they can trigger Tarkin Town, Obi-Wan is very good there. It'll be able to heal out a little bit of damage so you can keep him around and just make your things a little bit more resilient to stay on the board. Also, being a Sentinel means it can protect your ground arena pretty well, and if you do use things like lightsabers and stuff to boost them up, make them a little bit bigger and also harder to deal with. And that is the blue deck. So you've got the blue decks there, and you got some green decks. You got Piet and Palpatine. That's his name. These two are very nice ones. They're very flexible in them. Like you've got Palpatine can play 3 different ways in double green, blue, or you can play it yellow for very good options, very different options as well. Whereas Piet, he did used to have 3 options in yellow, red, and blue, but the yellow one's kind of died off now and isn't that great because with the hit and triple dark raid, you can't really play out those big spaceships easier with him, which kind of sucks. But he is still really good because you can play him very controlling, just like with Palpatine, you can play him both very controlling if you put blue with them. And Piet can make more use of those big spaceships, while Palpatine can then have a nice pivot of on his deploy, be able to take something off your opponent's board, and then just add to his own. And then you got the red version with Piet, which is another good version, probably the other kind of version you can play, which is more burn focus, making use of those capital ships like Devastator to throw out damage, and also I can't remember the name of the card now. Ruthless Raider, that's the one. I don't know. I can forget that. Because it's one of the best cards to play for red in the Villainy side. And those 2 are capital ships, so they can come out and play a little bit cheaper with him. And not only that, you can make use of when you got a capital ship on board out cheaper from him. You can then use Planetary Bombardment to throw out a lot of damage, 12 damage to your opponent. But it's indirect damage, so they get to choose. But you can make yourself have situations where they have to take it to base, or if Devastator out, you force it to go to the base. And then with Palpatine, you've got the yellow version, which is a very nice way. Hasn't really lost anything. It didn't really use triple dark raid to begin with. And you can make use of its great effects to be able to steal your opponent's cards using the yellow stuff, and then kill them off before they get them back, and then just add to your own. And then you've also got the double green version, which is also like a gimmicky one, like Yoda, where it's making use of Endless Legion, but you also got a lot of consistency in having maximum ramp, and also having some good double green tools to kind of help you survive longer, and you still got all the good stuff in green as well. And then for red, we've only got really one in tier 2, and that's Boba, because you can play it 2 different ways that are pretty effective, and that is yellow and green. Green offering the same thing like Vader used to add, and Boss can also add in red-green, which are pretty good. And the nice thing about it is it adds more indirect damage. So every time you do any kind of damage that isn't combat, you didn't get the trigger to ping more. And there's many ways to do that. You probably get more benefits out of the Cunning side to do that, because there's effects that kind of deal damage or even push aggression that adds to the effect. And then you also got a sweep deploy where he can chuck himself on a on any vehicle, which if you're playing yellow, you've got both versions of Fet's Fire Spray, which you can play. That one can get ready so you can deploy it when he can deploy, and then swing for huge damage, or the other one that adds to his effect to do more indirect damage. And then when he's deploying, being like a mini overone barrage is really cool. And in the green version, you got all the access, you got the ramp to kind of get him out earlier, you got access to like Ruthless Raider you can even jump on as well, and really good tools in that. And then for yellow, we've got Cad Bane and Kazuda. They offer kind of different options, where Cad Bane is never one of those leaders like Han, where you can play him in all different ways. You can play him control with blue, you can play him ramp with green, you can play him like tempo with red, or you can play him very aggressive with double yellow. And they offer different options, so he's a nice flexible leader, so if you get him, you can play it any different way. And they offer some really cool stuff. I think at the main way you're going to see him played is either blue that offers some good control, or in red to offer a lot of tempo, like how Django used to be. Because remember, any time there's been a yellow villainy leader that's been aggressive, Cat's just been just behind, waiting to shine, and once they get hit, he comes out to shine unless something else takes over. But at the moment, I feel he's going to take over in that sweet Cunning Villainy slot. And then you got Kazuda being the alternative way to play aggro if you don't want to play Sabine, or you don't like Sabine. You can play Kazuda. He focuses more on a spaceship focus, but the nice thing about him is he gets to utilize any of those spaceships or any units that have really good stats, but a downside to them, like say maybe a bounty that is a negative, so if opponent claims they can have it, or effects that don't let them really operate as best they can. Now Kazuda can just put them on the board and just negate their effects so that you don't have that downside. You have the positives but not the negatives, which is cool. So you can make use of things like the AT Hauler, which is cool. Huge stats, but if your opponent takes it, if your opponent defeats it, they can take it for themselves, which is not great. But if you take that off, they can do it. They can take it out, but they won't get it themselves. And even like Millennium Falcon, who to keep it on the board, you need to tap a resource at the end of the turn. And keep, like after you untapped, you have to tap one down, and that's not great in all time. Like, you're not always playing hand where you can just sack off the thing that you did ramp with, so that way you don't get negative from it. But instead, you can just neg the skills on it because it comes out ready anyway. So you play it out ready, neg skills, attack, and then you don't have to ready tap a resource at the end of the turn. So making good use of things like that, and even good uses of the events like Trench Run and Heroic Sacrifice, where you can get the benefits of like drawing a card and extra 2 power for a Heroic Sacrifice, or extra 4 power for Trench Run, but have no negatives from their other effects on them. So that's really nice there. And do you remember, they're not in order, just these are the options I feel, and there's a lot of options to tier 2 that you can try to have, and that just means we have a very good format where we've got a lot of things that can do well, and a lot more fun in playing, rather than just seeing in the same decks over and over again, just dominate. Like, we had one event where it was like 7 Django and 1 Piet, which was not fun. So now let's have a look at tier 3. So, with Tier 3, like I said, these are the ones that aren't as strong as Tier 1 and 2, and they probably have better versions, but they offer a little niche, and given the player's skill, the kind of luck of like matchups and stuff on the day, they potentially get through, make top at events, or even potentially have the chance to win as well. Just they're more rogue picks. And we got these 8 here, so we have the blue ones being Iden, Chirrut, and Throne. Iden being a very good one, have like a mill focus. Now, in this game, mill isn't an alternative win like it might in other games, but it's still a way to win, because when you deck them out, they start taking damage for every card they can't draw, so overall they end up dying after a couple of turns. And it offers a lot of good heal, and even now you've got Colossus as a good base to have a lot more health, but you do restrict your hand size, but the amount of health could outweigh it, and then Iden also has a built-in heal for as you keep focusing on control and removing things from board. Then you've got the Ever Villainy card in Throne, and he offers some nice effects. He's mostly going to be played, I imagine, I think he has been played in Command and Aggression, so red and green. Green offering some ramp, plus also like some pretty cool exploit strategies to make use of some of the units, and then using exploit as a force as an easier way to kind of defeat the units so you can trigger it when defeated, rather than your opponent having to have something in the board to run into, or them running over it anyway. So that's pretty cool. And in the red version, offering some nice bonus, some nice options to deal with some of the cool things you have. Like you got some ships that, when defeated, deal damage and things like that. So a good way to play him as well. And then you've got Chirrut. Now this is a a different way to play Ray. It's not as strong as Ray, where Ray actually has something to contribute where it's in the lead area, giving like small things boosts, so extra experience. So they're more of a threat than they were, so more bulky units start getting a little bit more powerful. And then when she comes out, she then heals damage off your board while still doing the same thing she was doing before. Whereas Chira, he doesn't have anything massively amazing when he's not deployed, and when he does deploy, that's when he becomes almost unkillable. So he's a little bit harder to take down compared to all other leaders. Now, the nice thing that he has a difference over Ray is that he can deploy a little bit earlier, so a turn earlier than Ray to be able to have a force unit on board. And where he can't be defeated by damage until the end of the turn, it means he can stick around and survive long enough to make use of your force cards, and even stick around longer by upgrading and put him out of harm's way, and even moving damage about with healing thanks to blue. So you most likely want to play this in like Tarkin Town, as like a red with Tarkin Town, but you can have some other options, like you can have him with double blue as well, which is pretty cool. Now you got the red leaders being Vader and Han 2. Now Vader's my personal favourite. He's one of my favourite leaders from set 1. And you can play him in different ways, just like how you can play Bosk, but then Bosk kind of supersedes him with have a little bit better of a way, earlier deploy, and more interactions with things like bounties. But Vader offers some good options. Actually, he's actually got one more option better than Bosk, because he can be played control with blue. You can play him at mid-range with green, or you can play him very aggressive with red, focusing on the damage, with like double red and focusing on a lot of damage. Because Vader's got a nice niche, and every time you play a Villainy card, you can do some damage as well, not to just a unit, but also to a base, and kind of chip away slowly. And you got some good options with control, even have more removal in no disintegrations, being a very good card with a combo with Vader's effect. Mid-range is still pretty good, offers pretty good options, just you are late deployed, but luckily ramp can help you out with that. And then with double red, you don't deploy. You got no way to deploy early, but you do have a side deck option, or even main deck if you want to, of Cham Sedula to help you ramp up against ramp decks, and even then focus on doing a lot of aggression to kind of just kill your opponent a little bit quicker and make use of things at Tarkin Town, which goes very well with Vader's own effect. In hand 2, he used to be pretty good, but since the Tarkin Town like focus with bases and like Tarkin Town dominance and bases kind of came about, he came a little bit less, because where he can cheat things up by damaging them, made him more vulnerable to those units that he does cheat out, getting taken out by Tarkin Town. So it was great, but now you can kind of like, now Tarkin Town's a little bit less used with this main use of Django like Com. He can still come about and maybe be a little bit better, but then he does have different ways, and you can play him blue with a lot of healing, play out bigger cool things like playing Luke a little bit earlier, things like that, while also having healing, which is cool. And as well as that, you could also go ahead and play him in green to go that like spam strategy, spam out loads of small drops early, so you can be very aggressive and just have your opponent unable to deal with this huge wide board you've built. So that's a good option there. Then for command, which technically does come for aggression, I forgot about that, you've got Boba and Rex. Boba, he did top and has done well with it, even though like he's not the Boba you normally think about, but he is a good Boba. You know, he played in blue to get access to the good green and blue cards in Heroic, and also given those any units that have a kind of a keyword skill, which is a lot of them, and get extra boost in power, is very nice. So making use of those ambush cards are really, really well. And then you've got Rex, which normally isn't a strong leader. Like, it's a cool leader, not a strong one, but thanks to the new addition of Unity of Purpose, the latest double green card, you can make use of his fact that he gets 2 cards out when you deploy, and with the new, well, the old, technically, yeah, not new, but old one, the green base droid manufacturing, you can get 3 units out, or well, at least 3 different units out on your deploy turn. So it comes to your turn where you can actually play Unity of Purpose on 6 resources. You can go and give everything on your board a huge boost. Now, the nice thing about Rex is you can put loads of little things cheap. You can even got ramp up to get there quicker, and then overwhelm your opponent by having all these little things become huge and hard to deal with. So that's a pretty good strategy you can potentially do. And then the last guy lastly we've got on this tier list, we've got the only cunning one being the new Han, and this is a pretty nice one because it offers you it's an odd strategy to use because you got to focus on odd cards, but you can make use just like how Yoda with the old You're My Own Hope card, which is a very strong card, but not many ways to guarantee you get a good use out of it. But you can with Han, where you get look at top card of the deck whenever you're trying to use his effect to kind of swing and boost. Even if you're not going to use that effect, you can still use it to just look at the top card of the deck, even if you can't attack with something, and make good use of that and have a lot of good strategies. Like, you got some good stuff, you even got a very good deploy turn, where you can potentially untap quite a few resources to play more things on this deploy, and hit quite hard from many different strategies. So those are my tier 3 leaders, and then there's only 8, but still they're ones that potentially win if given the right situations, great statistics and stuff, but are very nice, which you can even try out. And that brings us to the last one, being our tier 4 list. So here we have the tier 4 list, and well, not list, but the leaders, and these are ones that I've done well in the past, but kind of dropped off where people just preferred to play different leaders or leaders that mesh more well or more competitive than try out these different ones. So these are ones that I have seen do well in events and also like in person as well, but just have kind of dropped off a little bit. So we have Hondo, Onaka, we have Kaloren, we have Fennec Shand, and we have Mace Windu. These have all done pretty well. Like Hondo has been a good one to utilize the smuggle mechanic pretty well, offering a bit more in terms of tools than most control decks. You can play with blue to have access to that blue-green villainy kind of good strategy, and then also make use of things like smuggle to have options outside of just using your hand. Then you got Kylo as one of the good aggressive kind of leaders, which can be very aggressive, depending if you want to play red or yellow, and offers that nice kind of way to push hard and have a hard time dealing with it, and not worry about hand control or hand hate because it kind of doesn't want cards in hand. Then you got Fennec, who makes the good use out of the standard heroic red yellow core, that's the one, to have that more aggressive kind of side, but also make better use of it by also being able to give them ambush, to be able to ambush things out, whereas other leaders might not be able to. So making use of the same kind of core, but with a little bit of edge in ambush and be able to deploy not too late. Then we have Mace offering a more controlling focused version of heroic decks, being able to focus on a more controlling side of heroism, which is not often something you see it more mid-range and ramp, but not like full-on control, and offers some nice things for like damage by playing the same kind of, or similar kind of blue-red kind of heroic side, but offering more of a controlling focus of it to end up trying to get to late game and play out these huge things like crate dragon and stuff like that. So these are ones that kind of have dropped off and could come back because they can compete a bit more, maybe try from options, but are ones that maybe aren't popular due to the characters or the types of deck, or other characters in the same aspects are more popular and more preferred to most people. And that is the set 4 tier list, but do remember that this is just my opinion. It's opinion based, not fact. So if you don't agree, let me know the reason why, and if you do agree, then also let me know the reason why. Or if you got any suggestions or kind of things you need should be on like higher on the tier or lower in the tier, give the sessions. It's always nice to see and kind of see what people's views on them. So that is it for me today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe because we're on our way to 2,000 subs, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.